something I think a lot of us creative people are actually hit with is this concept that things can't change. The theory that things can't change is completely opposite reality, but that doesn't stop us from thinking to ourselves, on any level, big or small. Let me give you an example. Let's say you built a room for yourself to record or mix, master, whatever you're deciding that that's what you want to do, produce music. You put a lot of money into treatment, you set up your room, and you decide that now you can't hear enough bass in the room, so you keep putting more money into the room. Let's put more traps, more, acoustic treatment, more diffusion. All right, that doesn't work. Let's put more money into the room. Maybe we need to put a fabric wall up and change the whole thing. This is a very common thing for people who are really chasing something that's like the perfect sound in a mixing position. But let me give you another option. Maybe it's really not as much to do with fixing this thing that's broken as much as it might have to do with the fact that you are just very tired or sick or fed up with doing the same thing in the same place. That could be it too. In other words, some rooms you just can't get a great result in unless you bring in the pros to treat the room, make it sound amazing. There's inherent problems with the modes and the geometry of the room that won't let you hear the way you really need to hear because maybe it's just too small or something. So as a result, you bust your head against the wall and throw good money after bad constantly to try to make the room great when at the end of the day, you just needed a change in scenery. The whole time, if you just change the scenery, put your stuff in a different room or rearrange your room completely, you might have way, way better results. So this is not actually untrue even in the corporate world. The corporate world, if somebody stays at the same job for too long, and then like 20 years, and then tries to find another job, maybe they hire a recruiter to get them from point A to point B, where they're at to another job. That recruiter is going to look at their job history. And if their job history shows they've been in the same place for a really long time, like 20 years, in most fields, that's not a good thing. The reason it's not a good thing is because these fields are usually very compartmentalized. So that means the person who's in that position is not learning very much. They're not growing very much. They have the same people above them, the same people below them. They have the same job duties over and over and over again for 20 years. So they don't grow. They don't get better. They don't become someone who's more well-rounded, who can handle multitudes of different tasks because they haven't had to in different places, because everybody knows you fall into line in these places and you do a certain amount of stuff and that's it. So they know by moving around, it's a good thing, but not moving around too much. I think that's actually called something. It's called like UHA or UJA, unjustified job something. I don't know. What the hell is that word? H, unjustified job history or something like that. I don't know. Whatever it means doesn't matter. But the point is that term applies to people who can't stay at some place more than like a year. Or, a year, a little over a year. They have to move from job to job. That's also not good, and that reflects poorly on that person. This applies to us creatives just as much as it applies to the corporate world. If you stay in the same place, in the same room, using the same tools for 20 years, it's not necessarily a good thing. It might be a good thing if you're super happy with the results you're getting all the time and everything to you can't be made better. Nothing can be better. It's perfect. Fine. I could agree if you get great results all the time and you're generally happy about going to work every day, sitting, and even if it's not your full-time job, maybe it's just your hobby, your passion, whatever, you sit down every day to work and you're super happy, then maybe yes, good for you. You found the magic code. But for everybody else who's sitting there not so happy about the results, they're never quite happy with what they've accomplished when they finish something, it's never truly finished, they're always upset about everything, consider the fact that maybe You just need to change the scenery a little bit. Now, this doesn't even have to be the physical scenery, meaning move to a different room. It's not really even what I'm saying. It could be move within the room, just rearrange your setup to get more of what you're not hearing. I think the point I want everyone to hold on to is, what are you missing by changing if you're not happy where you are? Like, what is it that you're afraid? It's going to get worse? You're afraid it'll be worse. Well, you're not happy now, so maybe you're just scared to take risks. Maybe you're just afraid of the risk of changing what you're doing, and it's an unjustified fear that you don't want to take the risk. Maybe the risk is what you need, and maybe it's not the room at all. It could also be, maybe you're just sick of doing what you're doing. You're clicking around on a mouse, you're always in the box for the last however many years, and you don't want to be in the box anymore. You always think it'd be great if you had a couple pieces of gear. Well, get one. Start with something. Even one compressor. Do something different than what you're doing. That might rejuvenate you. Maybe it's you've been analog your whole life and you want to go in the box, but you're too scared to go in the box. Start going in the box. How about that? Maybe it's got nothing to do with mixing at all. Maybe it's you, and the truth is you just never healed some wounds that are going on inside you. You got some wires that are crossed that need to be untangled, and you're not willing to do it. You're not willing to bare your soul to someone who can help you. Someone like a therapist, a psychologist, somebody who can get in there and uncross those wires if they're good. And here's a little quick tip. If you want to know what makes a good psychologist or therapist, it's the one that calls you on your bullshit. The one that sits there and says, you know what? That's okay. What you do, that's okay. Don't worry. It'll be all right. That's not the right one. You get out of that as quick as you can. You want the one that calls you on your bullshit. That will help you. Whereas the people who just agree with everything you say and tell you you're the victim, they're never going to help you. Even if you are the victim, it's still not going to help you. So what I'm saying is you need the person who calls you on your bullshit, whatever that may be. All right? There's time for hugs, and then when we got to uncross wires, there's time for people to call people on bullshit. So get to the real stuff. What is the deal? Because you take you wherever you go. That's the other thing. You can't run from you. So if you're not happy with the results of whatever, maybe you need to learn some more stuff that you don't want to dive deep into learning, and that could get you from point A to point B. That's very possible. Other people love to learn and never do. That could be you. I don't know. Some people do. They learn and learn and learn, never ever putting themselves on the line by doing and finishing something. So I don't know what you're going through, but these are all things people go through, and I've probably gone through all of these at some point in my life. So I know them well, and I know what it feels like to have things I want to talk about and I don't talk about, and then it doesn't help. It doesn't fix itself. So you need to fix you. You can't fix yourself by doing the same things over and over again. That's the thing. If you can't afford to talk to someone or get your problem solved, consider this. Your mental health is in play every single time you sit down to work on anything creative. Every single thing. It's probably in play even more than that. But since this particular, what I like to focus on is us creative people, whether you're making music, producing, mixing, mastering, any of it, your mental health is what guides you towards your decisions. And if you have a serious issue with confidence, you may want to figure that out, because it might help you get to the point where you will actually be happy with your work. This is critical. Some people think mental health is too expensive. I venture to say that's the most important thing you could actually deal with that will get you somewhere, rather than, buying things. Buying things may not get you anywhere, but mental health fixing might. And that's the thing. But let me also open up the door to what I was saying before. If you're used to using the same stuff all the time, like, I understand why people like buying new things. I understand why you like getting a new plug-in or getting a new piece of gear, because it rejuvenates your excitement for what you're doing, because now you have something new. That's the same exact concept with moving a room. It's very hard to think about that when you're someone who's like a mixer, for example, because I wired this room myself, and you know how long it took? A long time. Like I'm saying, hours and hours and hours and hours to get everything wired into the patch bay. There's a spaghetti soup to my left in this patch bay, and it's absolutely crazy to think that I would want to do that in another place. But guess what? If you go back far enough on my channel, you'll see I was in the live room at one point as the mix room. I swapped to this room because I know this concept of got to switch it up. Sorry, I just banged in this thing. I know the concept, got to switch it up. And I'm actually considering maybe another switch in scenery soon because it's something that I like to do. Now, just like with the corporate world, I don't like to do it every year, but I like to do it when things get a little stale for me. I like to do it then because I already know what I'm happy with or what I'm not happy with, and I try to face the risk and the fear of whatever, ooh, that'd be terrible to move everything and all this. Yeah, but then you also grow from it. You learn new things. In other words, people are always so scared to move their mix room and stuff, but I venture to say, if you're not so happy with your room because you had a professional set it up or whatever, and you're just so happy with the sound you get in there because it translates so well everywhere else, if that's not the case, then what are you scared of? Like, it can't be worse, most likely. It probably can't. So it's one of those things. We know how much time it took to get us here, into the position we're in, comfortable. But being uncomfortable is a huge part of successful people's journeys. When they're uncomfortable, they push themselves. When they're comfortable, they do as little as possible. They get bored, complacent. They just sit where they are and they don't move, they don't grow. That's never good. Taking the risk makes you uncomfortable, which is a catalyst for change and will help you achieve more than you are currently achieving. That's the thing. I'm a big proponent of realizing risk and making an attempt, a valiant attempt, to take risks that will make you grow, which means be uncomfortable. That's what it means. It means the more comfortable you are, the less you are improving and growing on a daily basis. And that's actually why when you take that to the furthest extent, the people that don't ever finish anything, they never finish a song they're working on, it's never right, it's never done, those people are comfortable not finishing. They're comfortable with their work being undone forever. They're comfortable there. They're not uncomfortable. If they were uncomfortable, they'd say, it's done, I'm going to put it out. Who cares what anybody says? And I'll learn from it if it wasn't as good as I could make it. That's what they would say. And then they would put it out, and you know how uncomfortable they'd be when they released it? When not only released it, when they released it and said, I'm not going to touch this again for a while. I'm going to release it, and I'm going to say it's done. Not keep revisiting and keep changing and want to re-release it and want to... No, it's done because it's done. Now, years later, I may come back to it, but not before then. I'm going to do other things. And that's the point. I think everyone needs to realize that being uncomfortable is a huge part of everything. Everything that will make you grow. And everybody I know who really, really made it. These were people that were not afraid of risks. They came across as fearless people. Deep down, none of us are fearless people. Some of us just hide it better. And that's the truth. They're just like you. They had the same fears and they took the risks. That's the difference. Get uncomfortable, take the risks. You guys got this. I'll talk to you guys soon. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.